I've just made an extremely peculiar discovery in BT3. I think it's common knowledge at this point that gathering ki underwater significantly decreases your charging speed in the Tenkaichi series. Cybermen are the sole exception, as they actually see an increase in charging speed, possibly due to being literal plant alien people. Another minor exception are the androids, whose energy accumulation remains the same whether they're underwater or on land. For the most part, this stayed consistent until we got to Sparking Zero. In Sparking Zero, they messed around with this feature slightly, and now Namekians also have some unique charging rates, where the vast majority of the roster is hard-locked at around 50% decrease in speed. The Namekians only see a 20% decrease. The general consensus on this seems to be the fact that they have a strong affinity towards water, with them being born on a planet that's 90% water and all. However, just recently, I discovered that we have another character with unique underwater charging values, and depending on how you look at it, it's either going to make total sense or seem completely random. I'll be honest, whenever I was doing these tests, I never even thought of Janemba. I mean, what even is Janemba? A demon that was born out of negative energy that was accidentally released in Otherworld? But that should have been a clue. Otherworld, the afterlife, an entirely different dimension. So it wouldn't be much of a stretch to assume that an entity born there wouldn't follow the same rules as everyone else from our world. But if that's the case, then wouldn't that apply to other characters on the roster who also come from different dimensions or realms? And this is where an extremely tedious testing process began. Janemba doesn't see a decrease in charging speed, but he also doesn't see an increase. His charging speed remains consistent, which goes hand in hand with the theory of other dimensional beings being unaffected by rules that apply to everyone else from our dimension. Theory proven true. Not yet. We need at least one or two more characters to test with that are from other dimensions before we could say anything concrete. Luckily, I do have a candidate that comes to mind. The Supreme Kai. If the theory is true, then Shin would also be unaffected by water. So let's give it a shot. Interesting. 50% slower. I then gave Paikon a shot because he's from a completely different galaxy, and he also appears in the same movie as Janemba. But nope, just like Supreme Kai, a 50% speed reduction. I tested everyone that could even remotely be considered otherworldly or other dimensional, but they all end up with the same 50% speed reduction. Speaking of otherworldly, there's this game I've been playing on and off for quite a while now, and I think you might want to stick around because right now is the perfect time to jump in. With a unique lineup of over 900 champions and an insane crossover with Alice in Wonderland, I'm talking about Raid Shadow Legends. By far one of my favorite parts of Raid is champion collecting and also climbing the PvP ladder. And if you like unique champions and engaging turn-based combat, you're in luck. If you use my link in the description or scan this QR code, you can get a massive head start in the game. You'll instantly get legendary Elenaril, a poison stacker who's actually really strong in PvE content like Dragon or Doom Tower bosses. Reach level 15 and you'll unlock a powerful epic champion, Ultimate Galek, a magic affinity orc who excels at AoE HP burn. On top of those two, you can also grab another legendary champion completely free using one of these promo codes. Get Alice for Alice the Wanderer, a versatile attacker who disrupts enemy abilities and boosts her own damage. KITTYCUT for Cheshire Cat, a powerful damage dealer and a speed manipulator. GOFAST for Razelvar, a speed-focused powerhouse with AoE damage and team support. Wrath for Grand Oat Podrick, and BIGDAWG for Turval. I went with Turval because having a strong single target damage dealer is extremely effective for bosses. Raid is completely free to play, plus it's cross-platform, so you can play it on mobile or PC. So why not give it a shot? Be sure to check out Raid Shadow Legends using my link in the description, pinned comment, or the QR code, because that's the only way to get all these bonuses. You have 48 hours after downloading to use these promo codes, so don't miss out. Out of ideas, I decided to boot up Sparking Zero to see if the latest Tenkaichi game could help me get a more concrete explanation. And spoiler alert, it did not. If anything, it just made things more confusing because over there, Janemba's charging speed is inconsistent between land and water. It's not faster either, it is 50% slower. Whatever reasoning the devs had for Janemba's charging speed way back in 2007 seems to have been thrown out the window. Which begs the question, was what happened in BT 3 even intentional? Did they just correct their mistake in sparking Zero? I do like the whole other dimension theory, but it's a bit inconsistent since other different dimension characters all see a decrease in speed, unlike Janemba. Beerus' little destruction orbs. They're a big part of Beerus' playstyle in fighters, and they're extremely interactable. You can kick, flick, or push them to hit your enemy. Or just go haywire and spawn a bunch of them around Beerus, which you can use as a literal shield of destruction. Prior to the latest patch, these orbs could have been easily destroyed by a regular ki blast. However, as of version 1.42, which is the current version of the game, Beerus' wall of orbs is practically impenetrable. Regular ki blasts will no longer break them, which is actually pretty lore accurate now that I think about it. Although, as is the case with many Dragon Ball games, there are always some exceptions. I went through the entire roster just to confirm what the breaking point of these orbs is. Thankfully, FighterZ doesn't have that many fighters, at least when compared to the Tenkaichi games, which makes my life a whole lot easier for this test. It's important to note that not everyone in the game uses ki blasts. Sure, the majority does, but not everyone. We can immediately exclude GT Goku because he uses the power pole instead of ki blasts. Same with Hit, who uses time stop instead of ki, and Piccolo, who stretches out his arm. Though he does have a special type of ki blast called the homing energy blast, but that one also gets negated by the orbs. Next up are characters that use specialized blast attacks instead of regular ki blasts. This includes Future Trunks, Goku Black with his sight blast, Android 16 who fires a rocket punch, Blue Gogeta who straight up fires a Kamehameha as his ki attack, Vegeto's Spirit Sword, Super Broly with massive energy blasts, Jiren and SSJ4 Gogeta who blinks the whole thing away.
How about this?
Some of these characters even have regular ki blasts as well. And guess what? Those regular ki blasts still can't get through. Goku Blacks don't work, neither do Jiren's. And the same goes for Super Broly. My point is, no one seems to be able to break those orbs with normal ki blasts. Even the king of ki spam isn't making a dent. They can struggle all they want. In the end, they'll still
Die!
I mean, you saw the thumbnail. You knew this was going to happen. It seems to be an unwritten rule that in whichever game he appears in, some special treatment is bound to be thrown his way. Broly doesn't fire any special blast attacks, just a good old ki blast. And apparently, that seems to be more than enough to destroy the orbs. He's also able to destroy them with a mid-air ki blast. The reason I'm highlighting the fact that he's able to destroy them from the air is because of a certain other character. Majin 21. She stands alongside Z Broly as the only other character whose regular ki blasts shatter the orbs. Now, her ki attack isn't exactly the most basic one out there. I guess an argument could be made that she uses a specialized ki blast attack, and she also fires 3 of them. Whatever your opinion on this may be, she still isn't fully able to clear them. Whereas her regular ki blasts from the ground are able to break the orbs, the very same attack performed in the air doesn't achieve the same results. Unlike Z Broly, who doesn't really care if he's in the air or not. Those green ki blasts don't discriminate. Oh, and yeah, Beerus can also break his own orbs, but I think that was to be expected.
Here comes a mighty warrior!
Alright, so just as I was about to wrap this video up, SSJ4 Daima Goku got released. I mean, he'll probably be out by the time you guys are watching this video, but at the moment, he's still not. So I had to mess around with some of the code to get him early. He only has mid-air ki blasts, so let's see if they can do anything. Sure, he breaks it, but can we even call it a regular ki blast? Doesn't look all that regular to me. I won't spoil any of his cinematics, but I gotta show you this. No, your eyes are not deceiving you. That's Dragon Fist in Daima Goku. Yes, and no, he never did it in Daima. It's just meant to be an homage to the original Dragon Fist used by GT Goku, which, fun fact, is in the game. Now, I've seen some comments calling the move lazy, mainly because of the Shenron PNG instead of a full cinematic and all that. Some people have even gone as far as to say Daima Goku wasn't made by ArcSys, the actual developers of FighterZ. While it's not officially confirmed as of now, it wouldn't be far-fetched, considering they're currently working on another fighting game. Also, his dashing animation might look a bit odd at first. It almost resembles the one DBS Broly uses, but I guess it's actually a reference to Daima. He did fly like that on a few occasions in the show. And here's one more cool thing I noticed during my testing. His regular auto medium combo looks to be the only one in the game with a stage destruction effect.
Can't you do any better?
I think he's pretty cool, but the pre-release reception doesn't seem all that hot from what I've seen. This reminds me, Xenoverse 2 did something similar, except it was with Toppo's God of Destruction form. Unlike Beerus, Toppo didn't need to rely on a bunch of orbs for protection. Similar to Beerus' orbs, Toppo's Destroy Aura disintegrates every single regular Ki Blast your opponent throws at you, except charged Ki Blasts. Those ones will still get through. And here, there are no exceptions like in FighterZ. Your regular Ki Blasts simply won't get through. And the best part is that maintaining those Ki negating effects doesn't consume a single resource. No stamina drain, no Ki consumption, not even health. You negate Ki Blasts completely at no cost. Now I know something like this would never work in FighterZ, but imagine sparking Zero, a game where poking your opponent with Ki Blasts is essential for game control. They can't just rip it straight out of Xenoverse and make it work the same way. They would have to balance it somehow. Perhaps make it work similarly to Ultra Instinct, where you have to stand still in order for UI to activate. I think that could work. Or alternatively, slight Ki consumption. In FighterZ, every android has either a super or an ultimate that matches their model number exactly in hit count. For instance, Android 16's Hell Flash will deal 16 hits. 17 Super Electric Shock does 17. Android 18's Energy Blast hits 18 times. And Android 21's Photon Pulse hits 21 times, that's right. Then we also have Cell. Can we even count him? I mean, he doesn't have a number since he's a completely different type of creation. What would his number even be? Well, he absorbs 17 and 18, and 17 plus 18 is 35. What are the chances that they made his ulti hit 35 times? So close. Also, big shout out to Drake Redgrave for pointing this detail out. Here's a good one. We all remember Tenkaichi 3 as this huge game with a massive character roster and a pretty wide map pool. The massive character roster part is objectively true. I don't think anyone's going to debate that. The map pool, on the other hand, you know, that one is also kind of true. Though they did pad out the stage selection a tiny bit with the day, evening, and night variants. The day variant is usually the base version of each stage, with the evening and night versions added mainly for variety. However, the night variants likely serve a practical purpose as well, providing a stage with a visible moon, allowing Saiyans who can't create an artificial moon to still transform into great apes. What I'm trying to say is that even though these are essentially just reskins of the base maps, they do serve a functional role, which only leaves us with evening stages. They don't have any gimmicks like the night stages, which would suggest that they're only there to pad out the map pool. But is that true? Do they really not have anything going for them? Well, there's this one evening stage. This is the evening version of the World Tournament stage, a direct reference to Goku and Roshi's fight from the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament. The fight between the two dragged on for so long that evening eventually arrived, and even though it wasn't night yet, the sky was so clear that a full moon was visible, which awakened Goku's Great Ape form. Pretty cool moment, right? Well, I wonder what would happen if we tried looking up the sky on this exact stage. Absolute peak. Easter egg. Not a single other evening stage has this, and believe me, I tried. Other Saiyans who weren't able to create an artificial moon can also use the moon from this stage to transform. What I really like about this detail is that the moon isn't actually visible on this stage at all. I activated free cam and spent around 5 minutes hovering around the arena, and the moon is nowhere in sight. This in turn makes people not even bother trying to transform on this stage, because they naturally assume you can't, since there's no visible moon in the first place. Brilliant detail. Sparking Zero may have received quite a bit of criticism, some warranted, some maybe not, but I haven't really seen people talk about the fact that they went out of their way to replace some of the stock moves from the previous games with actual unique attacks. By stock moves, I'm referring to attacks like Explosive Wave, Blast Volley, Energy Wave, and other similar moves that devs often slap onto characters when they don't feel like creating unique animations for supers. For example, BT3 SSJ3 Goku had Explosive Wave as his second super, which was essentially just a stock move for him. And in Sparking Zero, they turned that into a cinematic of that brutal beatdown of Janemba. I think that was a good decision. Something similar happens with Goten. Even though I never considered the Kamehameha to be a stock move for him, they replaced it in Sparking Zero with a Stone Toss Barrage, which is pretty cool. I never mind a bit of creativity. While SZ might not be the first game to include this move, it might just be the first one with this unique detail. The rocks Goten throws will vary depending on the stage. Rocks from Rocky Fields won't be the same as the rocks from Namek, and so on. I like these little realistic details in Dragon Ball games. It reminds me of that one with Mr. Satan and his safety grenade pin. You guys like power scaling details, right? Well, here's something that was news to me. In the 18th episode of Secrets in DB Games, I briefly went over a specific version of super attacks I like to call Hyper Rushes. And like I said in that episode, the name isn't official. It's just something I came up with because I wasn't able to find their official name anywhere. These Hyper Rush attacks are unblockable and have a unique property that lets them power through your opponent's supers or even ultimates. When it comes to supers, the only thing they couldn't get past was Explosive Wave. Fast forward a few months, and now there's a new one. There are two Gogetas in the entire game, the Fusion Reborn version and the GT version. Both of them have Big Bang Kamehameha as their slot 1 super. And for some reason, out of every blast type super in the game, this is the only one that's unblockable. At first, I thought maybe Pikkon just isn't strong enough, that maybe there was a hidden power scaling mechanic with the Hyper Rushes. Like, the stronger a character is, the stronger the penetrating power of their Hyper Rush becomes. Maybe Frieza wouldn't be able to break through, but Nova Shenron potentially could, considering he's light years ahead of Frieza in terms of power. And that's exactly what I tried, but sadly, Nova didn't stand a chance. The next logical thing to do was to test with another similarly powered fusion, which of course led me to Vegito. Well, not only did Pikkon break through both his supers, but also his ultimate. Okay, we still have Super Vegito. Surely his fully charged Kamehameha will... It won't.
It's not looking good for Vegito fans.
With no further options or tests to run, I think it's conspiracy theory time. Or maybe not yet. I just thought of a fairly logical explanation. They simply wanted to make SSJ for Gogeta feel overpowered. You've got to keep in mind that when talking about these older games, we have to look at things the same way people did back then. And back then, SSJ for Gogeta was seen as the literal strongest character in Dragon Ball, canon or not.
Alright, I get that, but what about Super Gogeta? Him and Vegeta are comparable in power.
Here's what I think happened. The Big Bang Kamehameha was made with GT Gogeta in mind. Z Gogeta never used it. In fact, in BT1, Z Gogeta's super was a basic Super Kamehameha, a stock move essentially. I believe that once they got around to revamping character movesets in the second and third games, they simply copied over the codes and properties from GT Gogeta. I see no other reason why Super Vegito's Kamehameha loses that struggle and Z Gogeta doesn't when they're so comparable in power. This was most likely just another way they wanted to make GT Gogeta feel overpowered, which was a big trend in the mid to late 2000s with DBZ games. And Z Gogeta ended up with the same properties due to an oversight. In Sparking Zero, the Big Bang Kamehameha doesn't negate shit. Same was with Janemba's underwater key charge speed. Whatever the original intention with Hyper Clashes and the Big Bang Kamehameha was, it no longer seems to hold up. Although I will run these tests again once PyCon gets added to Sparking Zero, just to see if anything changes, but I doubt anything will. Also, a great shout out to Shenpo for leading me down this rabbit hole. Thank you all for watching, and don't forget to check out Raid Shadow Legends using my special link or QR code to grab all those exclusive rewards. To your left is the latest episode of Secrets in Dragon Ball games, and to the right is a recent Naruto episode I did. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.